Govan, do we know if any decision had been taken last night in terms of the tourism minister possibly having to appear before the Integrity Commission?
Well, we know that that decision was not taken and the discussion was deferred. In fact, the NEC is saying that if such a decision had to be considered by the NEC, it would have to come from the National Working Committee. And in that National Working Committee report to the NEC, the remarks by the Tourism Minister, Lindiwe Sisulu, didn't feature. And even though some discussion was attempted within the NEC and there were calls for her to be referred to the Integrity Commission, that didn't happen. So as things stand, the matter is still up in the air, with her supporters within the ANC continuing to defend her, while the president of the ANC, Cyril Ramaphosa, continues to come under a lot of pressure to take decisive action against her. In fact, today in the Sunday newspapers, he's been criticized for failing to take action against her, with some editorials describing him as incapable of doing so. So at the moment, what's been a key feature of the NEC meeting has been that speech by the Cosatu president, Zingisa Losi, in which she warns that the movement is at a crossroads. She's referring here to the alliance between the ANC, Cosatu, and the SACP. And this has been a concern which has always been raised by Cosatu, and they raise it much sharper here. And she specifically calls on the ANC to respect the collective bargaining platforms and says that the Treasury should not be allowed to rush to decrease the budget deficit. This would hollow out the CCMA as well as the Department of Trade and Industry and Competition. And Cosatu saying that if the ANC continues governing as it has over the last 3 years since it's raised this problem with the Treasury and the way that the ANC government has been dealing with state workers, that the ANC will increase unemployment to over 50% and it will lose power completely in 2024. And that's what she's referring to by the movement dying. So very strong words coming from the Cosatu president. She called for Lindiwe Sisulu, and Cosatu has called for Lindiwe Sisulu to leave the cabinet if she no longer believes in the constitution she took her oath of office in, but no direct condemnation of the tourism minister from that meeting. In fact, Pulimabi saying that it would never convene a meeting simply to discuss remarks by a minister.
And Govan, talking about Cosatu as a member of the Tripartite Alliance, it's not the first time that it's spoken against divisions within the ANC, etc. In fact, they've done it internally and even publicly. For instance, we've been to media briefings where Nahawu would even say it's going to tell its members not to vote for the ANC. And just to pick your brain a little bit, Govan, is it time for the SACP and Cosatu to do what it's been saying and actually stand on its own?
Well, they simply don't have the platform to contest nationally, at least. Remember that the SACP did have a few councillors in office in Metsimaholo following the 2016 local government elections. And Cosatu's Central Committee did extensively deliberate on the question on whether it was time to form a new organization which would contest power on behalf of the workers, or whether it was time to support the SACP's candidates because the ANC had failed to deliver or put forward a plan which Cosatu could endorse. And on all of those occasions, they stopped short of the mark. And even where the SACP contested power in 2016, what we saw in the last local government elections in November last year was most of the ANC's and the SACP structures returning to the ANC candidates, mobilizing support for them. That's following that new process initiated by Kgalema Motlanthe. So even though it appears that the alliance partners are not happy with the way that the ANC has been governing, all indications are that they will continue their support for ANC candidates and an ANC government, because that's where you find Cosatu leaders and SACP leaders. There are currently a number of SACP leaders within the cabinet. Zingisa Losi, the president of Cosatu, while criticizing the ANC so heavily yesterday, remains a member of the ANC's National Executive Committee. So the ANC, Cosatu, and the SACP continue to be interlinked and operate as a unit, and there are no indications as yet that they will split away to allow the workers to contest power against the ANC independently.
All right, Govan Whittles, thank you for the insight. Govan Whittles on the ANC's Lekgotla.